All right, guys. What's up, guys? It's gonna be episode number 33, and we are with Frank with Azul City. First of all, Frank, thank you so much for taking your time to giving us this interview, and just to give us like a 30-second background before we get too much into it of Azul City. What's Azul City? How did it come up? How do you come up with the name?
Well, let's see, 30 seconds. Azul City started prior to 2018. I had a partner at first, Georgia Echeverria, who started it on the rec side with the Fort Worth Adult Soccer Association. Now,
Okay.
from there, I've known him. He used to coach my kids. We decided to start this process of turning it into something more competitive. So in
Hmm.
2018, July, June, that's when the Sioux City Premier FC was actually founded. It was registered and everything. From
Okay.
there, we've started developing. I have players as young as 18 all the way up to 35, and we haven't stopped since 2018.
Okay. I started to hear about you guys about a year ago when I started diving into semi-pro, UPSL,
Mhm.
MPL, and all that. Why start a semi-pro team?
Um, well, at first, it was something different that was going around. Of course, you have your local leagues, you have your Sunday leagues, your Thursday night, Wednesday night leagues, but this seemed to be a step up from that to
Hmm.
actually, it was at the time a platform to get these players who would otherwise not be seen uh, the ability to actually be noticed, especially in the community, in the Hispanic community. I know that we have that mentality where once you graduate high school, if you don't have a scholarship or any means to go to college, then hey, I trabajar, you got to go back to work,
Hmm.
and then you
Hmm.
lose a lot of talent that way. And I'd seen that day in and day out, going to the fields playing myself. There's these young kids who are working. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, but they're busting their butts off day in day out, and they love playing soccer, but there's no way for them to do it. Either they got overlooked and by um, what do you call scouts, or they never played club soccer. That's something predominant in our culture. We don't
Hmm.
do club soccer for the most part.
Hmm. That is true. And I mean, soccer for people that are outside of Dallas or in the Metroplex, playing soccer is really expensive.
Exactly. I
It's
mean,
really
I have a
expensive.
daughter who's still currently playing, and the fees for club range anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000 a year, and
Hmm.
that does not include travel fees or uniform costs. So
Yeah.
for somebody who's comes from a hardworking family, they gotta either, okay, we're gonna do this with a family, or we're gonna do this for one child. It's not very affordable or feasible for a lot of people, even with scholarships out there. They'll cover
Yep.
you maybe one season, but that's it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, so you guys are just in the adult. You guys only have adult teams, or you have youth teams as well?
As of right now, we have it's categorized as adult, but we have players that are 16 and 17. Right now, I have two players who are currently attending high schools right now that are 17 years old. I
Okay.
believe they're freshmen or juniors in, no, freshmen or sophomores in high school right now. So I try to get them young, just because I try to develop them, and I
Okay.
try to scrimmage local junior colleges and colleges so they can be seen.
Hmm.
I've had a couple of guys, get offered some type of aid going to local colleges. Some players have been to tryouts with local colleges. They just didn't want to stay there, but the opportunity is there, and that's what I try to provide for the younger crowd. Even for the older players, if there's an opportunity for them to move up to bigger teams, then that's there. That's what I'm for. I don't try to retain players who have opportunities to go elsewhere, and that's something that they've known from day one. If by us playing somebody, you get contacted and they want to take you, and it's a better opportunity than playing with me, by all means, you're released. You can go.
Okay. Okay. So there's a lot of now this. I mean, like last year, I've seen a lot of teams pop up here in Dallas Fort Worth that join MPL, UPSL, and it's getting really competitive. And but it seems like everybody has a different idea of why they're making a team.
Right.
You already kind of said a little bit of why you're making a team, but as in, so what is your plan 5 years, 10 years from now? Because I mean, Azul City, I've followed it for a year, if you guys have definitely grown already. You guys, if I'm not mistaken, already added a Dallas team. So you
Yes,
guys have a Fort Worth and a Dallas team. So where do you see
yes.
yourself in like 10 years, 5 years from now?
10 to 5 years, I see us playing in possibly a higher league, maybe USL. The closest goal to us is maybe NPSL, but that's
Okay.
maybe within 2 to 3 years. And the good thing is that we have good relationships with some of the community and some of the sponsors like NewGen. It's a family owned and operated business who started in 2018, and they've been with
Hmm.
us since day one.
Okay.
Also, Instant Cleaning is just a family business. They've been with us since day one too. We currently picked up Jupiter Chevrolet out of Dallas, and they're helping the Dallas side be Moxie Supplements. So we don't necessarily go after the big guys. It's just something that happens. All of these
Hmm.
start small, and then the only big sponsor we have is Jupiter Chevrolet. They've been around
Hmm.
for over 100 plus years. So,
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, big name here in Dallas. Um, so you guys, like I said, there's a lot of teams out here, and everybody has like their own way of working things. Without going into like super details, do you guys have a plan as into do you guys charge the players? Do you guys provide everything? How does that work? If anybody out there like 16 years old and they have no idea of what to do after high school, because I mean, I feel
mhm,
like that happens to, like you said, to a lot of the Hispanic players out there. And for example, us, we just opened our men's team, and some 18-year-olds message us and they have no idea what the fee is or how to even try
mhm.
out or how to do none of that. Do you guys provide everything, or what does the player have to pay for?
As of right now, the only thing that most players pay for is a tryout fee, which
Okay.
it can range from 25 to $35. We also don't go all crazy like a lot of other teams that go 40 and $50,
Mm-hmm.
and that's only when we have official tryouts. Now, when we have open tryouts at practice, if a player brings you and they tell me about you, give me some background, then I'm not going to be hey, where's my money? No, it's never been about the money with the club.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, we have sponsors who help us uh, provide cover most of the costs, being season fees, ref fees, and everything. So I would say one of my typical players would maybe pay $100 for a whole season if
Okay.
they choose to, because that's what we charge for our uniforms.
Okay.
$100, that's it, which
Mm-hmm.
is a fraction of what most clubs and academies charge for the uniforms.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I mean, because I mean, I'm talking from our side of things. It's really hard to provide the whole cost for all the players. It's
Hmm.
a lot of people that are out there just kind of talking bad about the clubs that they charge too much and stuff like that. I mean, this is a really tough business.
It is.
People think that because you have a club, you're making a lot of money through the club, and a lot of the times it's the other way around. You have a club and you're
Exactly.
just putting in money all the time. Um, so like you said, you guys get a lot of help throughout the sponsors. Hopefully you guys, I mean, you guys been working, and I'm pretty sure you guys are planning to grow more. Are you guys looking into expanding to the youth teams? How do you see yourself as in like the money wise? How do you see yourself getting more money to grow? Because I mean, to grow you need money, pretty much, bottom line. Do you just
Exactly.
see yourself as a club getting more sponsors, or how do you see yourself getting more money for the club?
Well, the plan was to start an academy, which was in 2019. We had partnered up with some various clubs, and there's just the organization wasn't there on their behalf, and it just kind of fell apart. So we've had that in mind just to help out the youth. Just because, like I said, I've been around the youth. My kids play youth, and I know what the fees are. Talking to
Yeah.
the parents, I figure out what's beneficial for them and what also would help us provide something more for other future players in the youth. So that is in the works. I just haven't found the right platform or
Yeah.
individuals to help with that.
I mean, it's such a tough business, the soccer business. But I mean,
It
if
is.
I'm pretty sure you're in it because you love soccer and it's just like something that you feel like you have to do, right?
I've played soccer whew, for as long as I can remember. I
Mm-hmm.
know that I have family that's played for Club León in Mexico. My mother, she was always active in soccer as well. All of my family. I have pictures of my mother and all my aunts. She has, I believe, 13 brothers and sisters all together, and they've all played soccer
Yeah.
when they were still playing soccer in Mexico City on dirt fields. So
Hmm.
it's in my blood. My dad's played since he was very young. He's the one that trained me. I've played keeper most of my life, so
Okay.
now I pass that on to my club. I do the keeper training, I also do the coaching
Okay.
when the coaches aren't around.
Okay. And going a little back now in Azul City's history, how do you guys come up with the name, the logo, the color? What does it mean?
Well, Soul City, like I said, it came from my partner. The name came from him.
Okay.
He had the recreational side on the Minnesota, so he came up with a Soul City. Then we decided to make something stand out more, so we added the Premier FC to it. As
Okay.
far as the logo, um, it came. Nobody else had an emblem like we did, and nobody still does, as far as I can tell.
Hmm.
Um, we're from Texas, so we decided to put Texas in there, and it's just kind of looking at different images and thinking about what represents us. The stripes represented the area, different areas around Fort Worth area, but with us growing now, something that I haven't put out yet, which you will be the first to hear, and
Okay.
hopefully your viewers is we will be rebranding.
Oh,
We will keep
nice.
our name, but we will be rebranding our logo just
Okay.
because with expansion, we have to be inclusive. I
Yeah.
can't have a team per se, let's say out of the state, representing something that's from Texas. They will
Okay.
represent the name and they will have the capability to tweak it here and there, just in small aspects, but it will be a club, something that they can identify with, not, oh, we represent the club from Texas.
Okay.
That's our vision.
Okay. And I mean, going more into the soccer field type of questions, what was the hardest thing to start? Because I mean, right now we've been we began our man journey as you can call it that way, I guess, because we've been working with youth academies. Now
Mhm.
we started adding the men's team, and it's such a hard it's so hard to start a team. People don't show up, they do show up, they don't want to pay, they do want to play, they're not used to all that kind of stuff. What was the hardest thing to like go back to the first season? How was it like day in day out? First week, first practice, second practice, first
Um,
game, second game.
the first, when we first started, we had our first tryout session, I believe, was in November or December 2018, which was an indoor facility that is no longer here, which was off of 35 South and 20. I'm not sure if
Okay.
you're familiar with that area. There was an
Mm-hmm.
indoor facility there next to a gym. I believe that
Okay.
facility's closed down. But our very first tryout, we only had 9 players show up. 9 players. Um, I thought of it as a failure at first, but
Mm-hmm.
then I look back now and I'm like, it really wasn't a failure because we were brand
No.
new. Nobody
Yeah.
knew who we were. Our brand wasn't out there. Nobody was talking about us. At that time, you only had clubs around like Inocentes that had been known for a while.
Yeah.
Um, so that was the first time, and we had tryout later on, and then we had 45 players show up the second tryout, and that was at Everman Park over there off of Sycamore.
Okay.
And then from there, we just started growing. Now practices, because also going back to the culture, is players just want to show up and play sometimes. They don't want to put in the work.
Yeah.
Uh, it goes back to not being in academies. They're not used to that routine, that having to go to practice to earn your spot. Um, so that was a issue at first for us because we would have maybe like 4 or 5 players show up. Then it went to where we had all 50 players show up later on during, months after second,
Mm-hmm.
third season. So that became kind of a issue on itself because with so many players and still growing, figuring out who you are as a team, um, you couldn't play everybody. So we
Yeah.
had players leave here and there, but then we still have 4 or 5 players from the original team that are still with us.
Okay.
They go out to, they talk to me. They're like, you know what, Frank, this team has offered me this opportunity over here. Hey, good to go. Go ahead. And then they come back. They're like, yeah, it wasn't what they told me it was going to be, and we want to stay here, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm loyal to my players as long as they're loyal to me,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a give and take. It's
Yeah.
um, so yeah, practices were a big issue for us at first. Now we have maybe 11 to 15 players constantly showing up. but those are the 11, 15 players who were constantly going to the games.
Yeah.
And it's just, you got to get them out of that mentality where you show up to a game right on time and you're playing. Just this weekend, we had a game in McKinney. Some of my starters showed up late due to traffic, which is not their fault, but they didn't start. I started the ones that usually don't start. So
Okay.
it's you got to get them in that mentality to be there to the games an hour prior. With higher competition comes more standards. Checking in, sub cards, being checked in with the ref, international walkout, national anthem. There's a lot of things that go into it. A
Hmm.
lot of prep that goes in prior to game. You have to be there minimum an hour.
Yeah. Yeah. Going back to the first season again, how were the games? Do you guys have a good season? Was it really hard, as in result wise? Did y'all get a lot of losses? How do you get back
Um,
from? Because everybody when they start is tough. I mean, how do you continue even though it was tough? You know.
well, the very first season, I believe we lost the first game, and I'd have to look back to see what the score was because, like I said, we're different. We post whether we win or lose.
Hmm.
That's nothing to be ashamed of. Every loss is a learning experience. You take something
Yeah.
from it. Every win is also a learning experience because just because you win doesn't mean that you did everything right. There were still things that
Hmm.
needed to be corrected. So at first we would lose, but then the team would surprise itself by beating those same teams. Um, we would lose again, and then we would beat the team who was in the first place and stuff. And it's I've never had an issue with having talent on my team. It's just having players who were really going to commit to it. That's been the only issue throughout the years, commitment.
Yeah.
So,
And
but
I
yeah,
think I've
it's
seen that in every club here in Dallas Metroplex area. I've seen a lot of good players pretty much play like in five teams in the last
mhm.
year or two. And that's pretty tough. Uh, so now you guys, the very first season, where do you guys start? UPSL or where was it at?
The very first season we started in the UPSL. We started
UPSL.
in the UPSL, and I believe we were either second to last or third to last. We were in the last three places, somewhere around there. So it was. I wouldn't chalk it up as a bad season because it was a complete learning experience, especially
Yeah.
jumping into something that we had never ventured into before, something
Yeah.
new, having to travel to home and away games. That was something completely different for everybody that played for me at the time.
Yeah. 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 Going to the second season, what were the changes that you saw from the first season?
Going into the second season, I kind of knew what to expect. I knew kind of what we needed to work and how we needed to get there. So second season was a little bit better.
Hmm.
Um, Let me see. The second season, I believe it's when FC Harrington started playing, or no, it's I, that was with the UPSL. So it's like I'm trying to figure out the
Hmm.
timeline of
Yeah. Yeah.
where
Hmm.
and expect these back and
I mean,
forth
it don't have to
questions
be
of the
exact.
years.
We're trying to get like a taste because I mean, social media and all that stuff. You kind of get a glimpse, but I mean, you don't get
Hmm.
the dirty side. Having to travel. I mean, if you have a 25-man roster, having them to travel 30-minute drive, and that's tough. I mean, because nobody's used to it. Everybody's used
Yeah,
to driving to the local Sunday league game, and I mean,
yeah. It's
UPSL
generic
is
area
it's
where
not.
everybody plays.
Yeah, UPSL and the travel and the competition is fairly new. I mean, it's been around for a couple years, but it's fairly new. The fact that it's actually in the U.S. I mean, in other countries it's different, but here is we didn't have that much competition for adults,
Hmm.
and now it's pretty competitive. UPSLs, you can find some really really good teams.
Yeah. So the second season, I think we did a lot better. I, if I'm not mistaken, I think we ended up in right in the middle of the board. Um,
Okay.
but from that season is where I started seeing trends where um, we would lose mostly away games, and then home games it was either ties or extremely close, or we would blow out the opponent.
Okay.
Um, so that's when I started figuring out where okay, we're having the issue of traveling. So what I started doing is having the guys carpool or meet up at a park and ride, and then we drive together just to ensure that everybody would get there.
Yeah.
Because
I
at
mean
that
that's
time we
smart.
were still just traveling locally. We were just
Hmm.
traveling within the DFW area, if I'm not mistaken. I think the furthest was McKinney, that area that we were traveling out to.
Have y'all
So
gone
yeah,
out to
it's
like Arkansas or something? Because there's on UPSL, there's a couple teams out of state. Have
mhm.
y'all not done that, guys, or no, not yet?
We've traveled out to, well, that was last season where we would have had to travel to Oklahoma and
Oklahoma.
Arkansas. Um, but I believe at the last minute, Arkansas created a different league or a different division. So the
Hmm.
furthest that we've had to travel out was to Temple, Texas.
Okay.
But so that was the last season, and that's one of the reasons why I'm not playing in UPSL currently, because we had, I believe, 4 games left, and they told me, no, you're only going to play 2 games left. I was like, you're cutting my legs from under me. Come on, there's no
Yeah.
chance of me to earn a third place or a second place because you only going to give me the ability to get 6 points instead of
Hmm.
my
Okay.
my 12 points. So that's why we're not playing currently. But we were slotted to go out to Oklahoma, Tulsa, Oklahoma. I
Okay.
had the rental vans, everything, and last minute they tell me, no, we're only going to do 14 instead of 16 games. I was like, wow, okay, well,
Okay.
um, the two games left are not going to benefit me, so I'm not going to play them. It's just going to be just a burden on the team, on the club, expense wise, travel, referee fees, and everything, and we're not doing anything for us. So
Okay.
that's why I stopped playing the UPSO currently.
Okay. Okay. So right now, you guys are just playing NPL.
Yes, right now we are still playing MPL. We have other things in the works, which will be announced on our social media once that's set in stone.
Okay. And then, I mean, coming back to like now, how many teams you guys have? How many players do you guys have? Uh, how do you come up with the plan and make it happen? Because I mean, it's pretty tough that you are in Fort Worth and you're having your Dallas team now.
Okay, so right now, prior to the season kicking off, we had 3 teams. We had 2 Fort Worth teams and 1 Dallas team.
Okay.
Um, one of my coaches from last season was going to head the second Fort Worth team, which was going to be in the MPL D1. Unfortunately, we had some family emergencies out in California and some death in the family, and we were traveling back and forth, so I couldn't stay on top of that. That team on D1 was informed.
Okay.
Season kickoff came around, and I looked, and we really had nobody registered for that team. So that team is going to start D2 hopefully in the fall or in the spring of next year. But with with the Dallas team, the person in charge of it is Anthony Arriaga, who
Okay.
is was one of my players, I believe, 2 seasons ago. Like I
Nice.
said, I keep in touch with a lot of my players, and as long as that relationship is there and they're trustworthy, I try to, if they want to stay involved in the soccer industry, then if there's opportunities in house and they want to accept them, then they're there. If I
Hmm.
can offer them an opportunity somewhere else, then that's there. So that's where the Dallas team came from. He reached out to me. I was going to reach out to him about a week prior, but like I said, I had a lot of things going on, and he was like, "Hey Frank, I wanted to talk to you about this. Maybe using the team jerseys to start an indoor team out here." And I was like, "Well, I was going to reach out to you. How about you start the Dallas side over there? We'll
Okay.
talk about it later. We'll sit down and go over the ideas." And that's how that started. On that side, I believe they have about 25 players, 25 to 30 players. On the
Okay.
Fort Worth side, we have 31 players. And like I said, and then that stems from a lot of my workers working out of town. They work out of state as well. So I have to
Hmm.
keep a bigger roster than normal just because I don't have
Yeah.
most of the players available all the time.
Hmm.
And we practice out here in Mansfield. They practice in Irving, or I believe they've been doing foot 360 practices, the tournaments on
Okay.
Wednesday. And then we have
Okay.
joint practice out here as well in Mansfield. So we all
Nice.
get together and practice as an entire club.
That's nice. That's nice. And how's this current season going so far?
How's the what?
How's this season going
Oh,
so far?
well, the Dallas side is they actually had a game yesterday against versus the first place team out there, and it was give and go. That they were scoring, the other team was scoring, and the last minutes, they lost by one. The score was four to
Okay.
three for them. I
Okay.
believe they sit around um, somewhere around mid of the table. Now,
Okay.
for us on the Premier side over here, for the Premier division of the MPL, We've had some clubs reschedule due to field conditions, et cetera, and whatnot. So we just kicked off last 2 weekends ago. Um, we tied that first game 2-2 versus the team who knocked us out of the playoffs last season. Um, and then we won 5-0 versus Sporting North Texas Vagos last night in McKinney.
Nice,
So
congrats.
we are currently in second place right now. Thank you.
Okay, okay, nice, nice, nice. I mean, not talking about any teams, but do you have any rivalries with it? Not in a bad way. Is there a team that you guys have played for the past, I don't know, 2, 3 seasons, 2, 3 years, that you guys know each other? You're like, you beat us last time. We want to beat you this time. Any rivalries that you guys have so far?
Um, Personally,
Not in a
I
bad way at all. So nobody
no
gets it
no
wrong.
I team wise I don't think there are, but I know there's teams out there that that really don't like me just
Okay.
because of how I am with my team. And I will tell you this: I had a team not like me so much that they bought the rights to AzulCity.com and they still own it. That's how much they hate me. So that's why we don't have AzulCity.com. We have AzulCityFC.com. So I mean
Okay.
that puts it in perspective of how much people
Okay.
dislike me just because of the way I do things.
I
But
mean, if you're gonna pay just for that, I mean, yeah,
it's I mean that's going a step above
yeah,
instead of just I don't want to talk to you or no.
yeah, yeah.
There's a certain team, I'm not going to name them, but they're from the Dallas area. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure if they hear you, they're going to know who they are. Um, but no, I've tried helping a lot of different teams. Even when I see teams popping up, I reach out to them. Something that I never received or we never received when we started. Just reaching out to them, introducing myself. Hey, letting them know I've been around this type
Mm,
of environment for a while. If you need any type of assistance with uniforms or field locations or anything, feel free to reach out to me. And there's only been maybe one or two that have reached out back. I don't know why that is. It's
trust
if
me.
we're all in the same thing, why not help each other? You know?
Yeah. I mean, we've had the podcast for over a year,
Hmm.
and the reason why we opened it initially was to interview coaches, you both on the youth and on the adult side on the Dallas area. So we wanted to see what they were doing, why they were doing good, why they were having troubles. Kind of. I mean, seems like everybody talks about the end result, but in between, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of
Yeah.
practice, a lot of losses and all that. So we want to talk about that, but it seems like nobody wants to be in a podcast. I mean, we've asked so many people, and we either get no reply or they can't do it or whatever the reason is. Not sure why, but again, I mean, uh, this that we're talking about right now, that's the only thing that we're trying to get out of, kind of what
Yeah.
the daily thing is with the teams. What is the team that you guys played the most against?
Let's see. I believe we've played Sporting North Texas, um, Somerset FC.
Okay.
Uh, let's see. I believe those are the only teams we've played the most. Sporting North Texas, I believe we've played 4 or 5 times. Um, we've played their UPSL side 3 times, I believe, and their MPL side once. That's not counting how many times Dallas has played them. I believe they've played them once or twice.
Okay.
Somerset, we've only played them in the UPSL, and that was 2, 4, maybe 6 times.
Hmm.
And I think they've won 2 or 3 of them. Um, but every time they've come out here, for the most part, we've beat them except this last season. Had an
Nice.
incomplete team, and they absolutely killed us. I believe it was like 6-1 or 6-0.
Nice, nice,
But
nice.
yeah, it happens. Like I said,
I
I'm not
mean,
ashamed of our losses. It's always a learning experience.
yeah,
So,
yeah. And what? So you already kind of said in 5, 10 years. What's next for you guys on the coming season? Are you guys going out back to UPSL? You guys thinking about it?
the coming season, we have some things in the works that I'll announce when it's set in stone.
Okay, okay.
But we will be back in the MPL. UPSL, if things don't square away themselves, then we will not be back possibly until next year, if at all. But there are other venues that we can take at the same, if not higher level. to achieve what we want to get to.
Okay, okay. And I mean, MPL is pretty competitive though.
Oh yeah, MPL is the thing I like about the MPL is that it's a stepping stone for brand new clubs.
Yeah.
And also you see some clubs that have been established that use it to field players for their main teams, which is
Hmm.
what our intent was when we joined the MPL. Now the intent is to field the players there and figure out exactly who is willing to compete at a higher level, where whether
Hmm.
it be statewide or nationwide.
Hmm. Since you played both, what's the difference on level wise from UPSL to MPL? Is there a big difference?
Um,
Talking soccer, not talking about the teams in
Soccer, no,
particular.
no, yes, soccer wise, honestly, I think it's pretty much the same. Um,
Okay.
Same, you have a lot of the same players playing in the UPSL that play in the MPL. Um, Same, it's the same. How would you say? Kind of the same setup in both leagues, but the MPL is like I said, it's more for newer clubs that are trying to get a taste or a look at what it is at playing at a higher level. I
Hmm.
mean, because honestly, they UPSL, MPL use the same fields, so there's really no difference there,
Yeah.
other than the bigger clubs who have a lot more funding that rent their stadiums out in Dallas or and so forth. But even in Oklahoma, they're playing in fields just like out here we have. So
Yeah.
it's really not that different, other than maybe a little higher level sometimes.
Okay. Okay. Last question, and again, thank you again for taking the call. Um, I don't want to take much of your time. Hopefully, we'll do a second interview when the season's over. Kind of talk about a
Okay.
little bit about the season more specifically. But the last question will be like, what's the biggest victory that Azul City has had in the past? Maybe result wise, not meaning as in we won 10-0. No, meaning as in like you were working so hard for a certain thing and then you got it and you're like, I know that we've been working for this so much that we made it. Doesn't have to be like an actual trophy or like a 10-0 victory,
Hmm.
but something that you guys build up to and you accomplished.
I believe over the years, I think the thing that I'm most proud of is that we've had our highest winning streak was 26 plus games without losing
Oh,
any game
that's
at
big.
all, and that was playing against junior colleges, against championship teams from UPSL. Not one loss. They would call us up thinking we were an easy team to beat. Lo and behold, it wasn't so easy because they felt
Okay.
kind of embarrassed afterwards. Had a couple of coaches tell me, "Hey, we didn't expect that." Well, don't underestimate us. Just because we don't do so hot sometimes during the season, but when you catch us with our players,
Yeah.
then it's a whole different story. So
Okay.
that's been the highest, the thing that I'm most proud of, that we've had 26 plus games without losing.
Last season in MPO, you guys made all the way to the playoffs, right?
Yes, the last season in the MPL, we went the whole season without any losses. Um,
Okay.
Actually, the champion of the that took the cup was Mantequilla out of Dallas, Mantequilla FC,
Mm-hmm.
and we had some really high scoring games versus them. It was the only
Okay.
team that really gave us a hard time. I believe one of the scores was either 4-4 or 8-8. The
Nice.
second time we faced them, it was 11-11, and that's not a joke. 11-11.
11,
So
11.
on that game, we were up maybe 6-1, 8-1. They completely turned it around on a second half, 11-11. I was like, wow,
That
that
was
was
that was an
crazy.
interesting game. Interesting
And
game.
then like I said, we made it to the playoffs. We were knocked off. That was that weekend. We had game on Saturday evening and then Sunday evening. So we played Somerset and then we played Atletico Valle, which it was a very tight game. There were issues in the game where the referee stopped it early because he believed it was 30-minute halves. I mean, come on.
Like
When
if they were kids.
in adult games do you have 35-minute halves? So that killed the momentum for us. It was 1-1, closing seconds, defensive mistake. It ended up 2-2, or no, 2-1. We lost. Um,
Okay.
but we tied them again like 2 weekends ago, and hopefully we can take the W when we face them again in a couple of weeks.
Okay. Well, again, thanks so much for taking your time. Hopefully, we have a second part later on the season where you guys are pretty much over. Can I talk about how the season went? And right now we are not ready, but hopefully in the summer we'll be ready to invite you guys for a scrimmage.
Okay.
Uh, we are definitely working hard to get to that level, but we're not there yet. We don't want to go out there and get super killed. We don't mind losing, but we're definitely not ready to face an NPL team as of now. If you want to give out your social media or where they can find you guys or the club, if they have any questions, any if you have coming up scrimmages, games, or tryouts that you want to give out here, you're more than
Okay.
welcome to give them out.
They can visit our website. Uh, it's www.azulcityfc.com.
FC.
We're on we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. We have a Mike Hudro account where most of our games are. We also have YouTube, Azul City Premier FC, which I upload most of the games as well. Um, we have a dedicated club phone number, which is 682-320-6800. Again, is 682-320-6800. If anybody wants to call out, call that number. Our social media is also on there in case nobody answers. But yeah, we're always accessible. Open practices are Thursdays for both teams. Reaches out via any social media and we'll get you squared away.
Sounds good. Well, good luck with your season. Hopefully, you guys make it all the way to the championship game on the MPL, and why not take the cup?
Yeah, hopefully. And like I said, going back to the thing you mentioned about going into the NPL, um, you never know if you're ready until you take that step. So
Yeah,
I'd say go
yeah.
ahead and scrimmage some MPL teams, get that under your belt, and you never know. You might be ready. You just think you're not. You never
We're
know.
currently playing on the DSA. I'm not sure if you've heard of it.
I've heard of them.
We played
Um,
at the DSA. We had a really solid team a year ago. We had been playing together for 5 6 years. Not as an NPL or
mhm.
UPSL. We were just friends after college. We played the North Texas League. We went to DSA. We won the Henneken Cup. But then after Henneken Cup, which was last summer, everybody was like, we're 28, we're 29, we're done, we have kids, married, and all that. So that's when we jumped in and try to rebuild the team. And we're currently playing in DSA, but it's been a really tough season. I mean, we
Yeah, I
got
mean it
95% of
happens.
the team is new. So
Yeah, I
we're
mean it
we're
happens
hoping,
when you build new team when you have new
yeah,
players. That chemistry takes some time, but
yeah,
it'll come around, and you never
yeah,
know it'll click when you least expect it. You'll be like, wow, when did that happen?
yeah. I know. So we're gonna play a tournament July 20 something, I believe. Um, so around that time, we'll give you a call. So hopefully you guys are available to have a scrimmage. We're gonna try
Okay.
to have a couple scrimmages before the tournament. Uh, and I think you guys will definitely be a good test to get ready for that
Oh,
tournament.
yeah. Don't give me too much credit on that. I
Oh no,
can't
I mean,
promise you anything.
no, you guys been around for a good while, and I mean that's the biggest test being around for a good while. I mean, because I've seen a couple of teams pop up and just disappear in a year, 2 years. Because I mean, it's a really tough business.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen several clubs that will play one season and then announce that they'll keep playing, and then next thing you know, it's poof,
Yeah,
they're not there anymore. And that's something that I'm proud of for the club too. That since we started, we've maintained active. Even during COVID, we were taking precautions and we were still
yeah.
playing scrimmages. Keeping the players active, involved, in everything. So that's something that I'm proud of. Since 2018, the Sioux City Premier FC has never stopped playing
Yeah.
at you know different levels, but we've never stopped. So
And I mean that's really tough, really tough. We haven't stopped playing, but we've definitely seen a decline, a
mhm.
big decline on level, on commitment, and for you guys to be around for so long, it's a big accomplishment. Trust me,
Thank you.
I know how hard it is. It's a big accomplishment. But we'll give you a call whenever around July. Hopefully, are
Okay.
you guys gonna be in season in July?
Let's see. Well, with all these
Rescheduling.
reschedules, we might be in season until mid to late June, and if this new thing goes, then we might be playing summer. Um, but we can always fit in scrimmages, whether it be during the week or whenever we have off. Like I said, but we also have the Dallas side who can always be available too.
Oh, okay, okay. I mean, if we can, we would, because actually we're trying to get couple scrimmages.
Okay.
So if we can actually, I don't know, work something out during the week that we play, the three teams play each other or whatever, something like that. That'd be pretty cool.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, we can definitely talk later on.
Yeah, for sure. Well, again, thanks so much. Thank you guys. Episode 32, and we'll keep you posted.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.